Welcome back to TH1. Today, we're joining our guy on an exciting adventure, building a cozy wooden cabin deep in a peaceful pine forest. Let's follow him on this exciting journey. First, he needs to find the perfect spot. After selecting the ideal location, he began sketching out the area for the house, carefully marking out every corner and visualizing the finished structure. With a clear plan in mind, he grabs his pickaxe and starts digging the foundation, shaping the earth to create a sturdy base for what will soon be a beautiful, rustic home. After completing the foundation, he gathered round pine logs and carefully cut them into equal lengths, which would become the sturdy walls of his house. Each one is carefully selected for its strength and durability, ensuring the walls will be sturdy and well insulated against the elements. At the end of each log, he did not forget to carve precise notches, creating a natural joint that helps the logs lock into place. Sawing enough logs took a lot of his time and effort. Now, with a vision in mind and the materials ready, he begins stacking the logs. Starting at the corners, he layers each log carefully, placing them one on top of the other. For added stability, he alternates between the walls, skillfully interlocking them to form a strong frame that will withstand time and weather. With a hammer and nails, he fixes each log firmly, reinforcing the entire frame with every swing. Reinforcing walls is an essential part of the construction process, as it forms the foundation for the stability and durability of the house. Each log must be carefully positioned to ensure it doesn't shift out of place and stays perfectly aligned. For the front wall, he carefully measured and sawed off the area that would eventually become the entrance to the house. He then used 2 posts to secure it along the door for extra strength. Next, he moved on to building the ceiling, using sturdy logs to cover the entire ceiling area, making sure there were no gaps left. He carefully extends the ceiling outward on all sides, creating a protective porch that shielded the house from rain and wind. He carefully saws each log to the same length, making sure they are uniform and precise. With patience, he lays them out side by side, aligning each piece tightly to create a seamless surface. He firmly secures each log with nails, driving them in deep to hold everything steady. With the ceiling complete, he begins building up the 4 walls higher, preparing to create a cozy loft space. As he reaches the desired height, he starts framing the roof, carefully crafting a classic design with a high peak in the center that slopes down gracefully on either side. Once the frame was complete, he began to cover it with small, long logs, arranging each log in neat rows, overlapping each other and hugging the roof frame. Every log is fastened securely with nails to prevent shifting, creating a stable, weatherproof layer that will protect the cabin's interior. With the roof now fully covered, he takes a moment to prepare a simple campfire pit nearby. Digging a small, neat hole in the ground, he created a makeshift cooking area. Satisfied with his progress, he takes a short rest, enjoying a moment of peace in the forest before moving on to the next stage. After his break, he turns his attention to building a staircase to access the loft. He carefully selects and saws 2 sturdy logs, which will serve as the main supports for the stairs, stretching from the ground up to the loft. Once the two logs are secured firmly in place, he starts crafting each step. Sawing additional pieces to size, he aligns each step with precision, fastening them with nails to ensure stability. Gradually, the staircase takes shape, providing a strong, reliable way to reach the cozy loft space above. Next, he focused on reinforcing the home's foundation by creating a barrier of earth around the sides and back of the home. He takes a measuring tape to carefully check the width of the roof, ensuring the dimensions are precise before cutting any more logs. With a clear measurement in hand, he selects logs of the right size, each one cut to fit the gap at the back of the roof. He begins placing the logs into position, one by one, starting from the bottom and working his way up to ensure an even, tight fit. Each log is secured firmly with nails, locking it into place as he moves along. Gradually, the back of the roof is completely sealed, the logs fitting together seamlessly to form a solid. Similarly, he moves to the front of the loft, where he needs to cover the area while leaving a space for the door. One by one, he arranges the logs, carefully stacking them in place, ensuring each piece fits snugly against the others. By the time he's finished, the entire front of the loft is covered, with only the door frame left open. He lays a large sheet of nylon over the entire roof, covering it to provide an extra layer of protection from the elements. Using a staple gun, he temporarily secures the nylon in place. Next, he uses additional wooden beams to secure the roof further. Starting at one end of the roof, he places the beams evenly, making sure they align with the frame and the nylon layer beneath. He measures each piece of wood carefully to ensure they fit perfectly across the structure. After securely fixing the nylon sheet in place, he turns his attention to an additional layer of protection. He heads out to gather fresh, thick mats of grass, which will be used to cover the roof. He begins laying the grass mats carefully, starting at one end of the roof and working his way across. Each mat is spread evenly, overlapping the previous one to create a continuous, thick blanket of green. The grass slowly covers the entire roof, forming a soft, natural shield that blends harmoniously with the surrounding forest. Next, he started installing doors for the house. He starts by carefully measuring the dimensions of the door frame. Then he stacked the cut logs lengthwise and secured them with horizontal logs. After completing the door frame, he moved on to installing it into the door frame of the house. He carefully fits the door in place, making sure it swings open and closed smoothly. For the final touch, he searches for a short, naturally curved piece of wood, a perfect handle for the door. He repeats the same steps to complete the second door for the loft area. He builds a simple railing for the top of the loft. Using sturdy wooden beams, he arranges them carefully along the edge, securing them with nails to create a protective barrier. He turns his attention to filling the gaps in the walls. To seal the spaces and prevent drafts, he takes more mats of grass and carefully stuffs them into the cracks between the logs. He presses the grass tightly into each gap, ensuring that there are no open spaces left. Then he gathered the small pieces of wood in a corner, saving them for making a fire. In another corner of the house, he built a sturdy chair, designed for comfort and relaxation. Using the same wooden slats, he carefully built a simple but functional rocking chair. After a moment of rest on his newly built chair, he decides to move on to the next project, constructing a large swing. To begin, he searches for thick, long logs that will serve as the main post for the swing's frame. Once chosen, he saws the logs to the appropriate lengths and carries them to the designated spot for the swing. The next step is crucial. He needs to create two strong triangular supports for the frame. To do this, he cut notches at the ends of the two logs so that the logs fit together at the ends, forming a sturdy triangular top. He repeats this process for both logs, making sure the notches are identical in size and shape. The connection is firm, and he secures it tightly with nails to ensure it holds steady. Now that the basic framework is in place, he focuses on reinforcing the structure. To ensure the frame was sturdy and stable, he added support beams around the posts. These beams, placed horizontally and diagonally, provide additional strength and prevent the frame from swaying or tipping. The beams are carefully measured and cut to fit, each one nailed securely into place. Finally, he checks the entire frame to make sure everything is aligned correctly and stands stable. With the main structure now solid, he has a sturdy foundation for the swing. Once the frame for the swing is complete, he moves on to building the seat. He placed two short logs lengthwise underneath to make the base of the chair, then arranged long logs horizontally along the two vertical bars to make the seat. After making two identical panels, he placed one panel perpendicular to the other to form the backrest of the chair. Next, he begins the process of hanging the swing. He takes a hand drill and carefully drills round holes at the top of the swing frame's crossbeam, as well as at the four corners of the seat. After the holes were drilled, he installed metal rivets into each hole. Once the rivets were in place, he used sturdy chains to attach the swing seat to the hooks. After mounting the swing, he checked the balance and checked it again to increase the safety of the swing. After finishing the swing, he turns his attention to preparing his lunch. While the fire is getting ready, he begins to prepare his food. He places the wrapped skewers onto the grill over the open flame, turning them occasionally to ensure they cook evenly. After a while, he checks the food, satisfied that it is perfectly cooked, and he enjoyed his meal. After lunch, he went back to work and started putting up windows for the house. After marking the area with the glass frame, he used a saw and sawed along the drawn marks. With the frame now cut out, he takes the glass frame and positions it into the newly created opening. To fill in any remaining gaps around the edges of the frame, he takes more mats of grass and stuffs them into the cracks. Next, he sets out to build a simple yet functional wood holder, which will make it easier for him to saw logs into thin slices. He carefully selects some sturdy wooden planks and assembles them into a stable frame. Though simple, the holder is precisely crafted, ensuring that the logs stay secure and steady during the sawing process. After finishing the stand, he found a large piece of wood with wide, clear rings and began sawing it into even, round slices. These wood planks will serve as the foundation for the floor. He carefully arranges the round slices of wood on the ground, fitting them together like a natural puzzle to form a solid, rustic floor. After finishing the floor, he moves on to covering the interior walls. He takes a large roll of aluminum foil and begins carefully applying it to the walls. Using a hand stapler, he secures the foil tightly against the wood. And of course, no home is complete without a bed. He started by building a sturdy bed frame out of large logs. He carefully measures and cuts the pieces, ensuring they fit together perfectly. He then selected thick, straight logs and sawed them into equal lengths, carefully cutting off any small branches or rough spots with an axe. The logs were then placed evenly on the bed frame, forming a sturdy and supportive base for the mattress. To finish the bed, he covers the wooden slats with a layer of aluminum foil. It's now ready for him to lie down and rest. Continuing with the interior, he begins to build a stove. He starts by clearing a spot for the stove and then builds the stove base using cement and bricks. Mixing cement carefully, he lays down the first layer of bricks, ensuring each one is aligned for a sturdy foundation. Since the stove is indoors, he knows proper ventilation is essential. He chose a spot on the roof and used a saw to cut a hole for the chimney. Once the hole is prepared, he carefully installs the pipe, securing it to lead smoke safely outside. This addition is essential to keep the air in your home clean and ensure your stove can operate efficiently. The chimney was assembled and piped according to the holes he had drilled. He connected the pipes until the pipe extended to the roof. After completing the structure, he takes a can of paint and applies a protective layer over the stove, giving it a polished look while adding durability. Finally, he decided to build a small, convenient shelf next to the bed to store necessary items in daily life. Using some extra wood, he constructs a sturdy shelf and attaches it securely to the wall. With a complete kitchen and shelves, the interior of the house becomes much more functional and attractive, creating a cozy and efficient space for cooking and heating. After a long day's work, it's finally time for him to rest. He lit a fire to roast dinner, enjoying the peace and atmosphere of his cozy pine forest home. And so, the journey of building a cabin in the pine forest has come to an end. Thank you for accompanying him on this adventure. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. Goodbye and see you next time.